Welcome to Growing Up Boomer. I'm your host, Padre, with my co-host, Professor, and this podcast is dedicated to the life and times of the baby boomer generation. The show is loosely scripted, and sometimes we'll go down rabbit holes, and where it leads us to, one will never know. This podcast can be informative, funny, and sometimes irreverent, but most of all, we hope you find it entertaining. Hi, I'm your host, Padre, and welcome to a special edition of Growing Up Boomer. Today, we're going to go over some of the traditions we had during the 50s and 60s. And of course, as you know, that these traditions were based upon our parents who had lived through the Great Depression, who had gone through the World War II conflict, and also the Korean conflict. This was when we started moving out to the suburbs, and traditions and all kinds of things changed by then. So let's get started right away. Okay. First of all, it was always large family get-togethers. Aunts, uncles, all of that kind of stuff we always have. But you know what? In our family, it was so big that we didn't have to worry about inviting the aunts and the uncles or whatever. I mean, they were just the families, maybe just the immediate families. For instance, what we do for our family is that a lot of times, especially when the kids start getting married and everything, they want to spend time with the Christmas with their side of the family. So what we do, which we did about 2 weeks ago before Christmas, we would have a large get-together. All righty, we'd have just the immediate family. In other words, the brothers and sisters. And then you'd go with the kids and their kids. All righty. So there's about 4 families there. It equaled over 40 people. And let me tell you what, when my sister-in-law puts on a spread, it is a spread. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what, we had food everywhere. And that's what we do. I mean, the large gathering, oh, God, and the food was delicious. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. If anything, they can cook and they can bake. All righty, now, get this here. The average temperature, we do it in LA, the average temperature in December in LA is about 60, high 60s, low 70s. Not this week. It was in the high 70s, low 80s. So it was beautiful because we can spend some time outside as well with all of these people. Now, and Santa made a special visit for those kids that were under 10 years old. And that equaled out to be over a dozen. So then we had a great time. I mean, and you talk about decorations. Okay, this house is beautiful. I mean, it is huge. It's beautiful. I mean, and the decorations out in the front. Oh my goodness. I mean, she's got Santa riding dinosaurs, fishing, climbing trees. I mean, in sleds. I mean, this thing's so good. I mean, it's the only house in Southern California within our family they can hold such a party and still have plenty of room, plenty of breathing room. Let me tell you how big this house is. Okay, we're watching TV before the party, the day before the party. We got everything ready. I mean, they cook for days. Everything's ready. Okay, she's texting. I said, "Who are you texting?" She's texting her daughter. I said, I didn't see her leave. And she says, "No, she's at the other end of the house." I said, "That's how big this house is." Okay. With us in my little house, all I have to do is scream and not even yell that loud, and they can still hear me. Now, this house, which is, I mean, she has over 60 nativity scenes. 60. Okay. Now, they cover every ethnic group known to man. I mean, they've got some that's even Peruvian. I mean, some that look like they're in a, kimonos. I mean, Brazilian. You talk. I mean, they got everything. All right, they even got them out in a little serape type of blanket. You know, and I got to remind her. I said, you do know Jesus was Jewish, right? And I'm just thinking it's just beautiful, beautiful, decorated, and the food. Let me tell you, the menu. Okay, tamales, chicken mole, rice, beans, chili Colorado, ham, bread stuffing, chicken, not a vegetable to be found. Oh, I take that back. They were Brussels sprouts, but nobody ate them. Okay. But yeah, it was just wonderful. Over 40 people. We had a great, great time. And that's kind of what we do. And that's kind of like the Christmas spirit. And that's our tradition. When we, because of the fact that, there's a big, can you imagine if we brought all the family over? We would have had well over 100 people. But so we divided up that way, and it's just very, very nice. And just like I said, she's just very gracious, lets her house. And I mean, they cook for days. But oh, the food was fabulous, I got to tell you. But the thing that was really big back back then was the Christmas Wonderland. In other words, like the North Pole, these big department stores would make like the North Pole. Okay, and it's Santa's workhouse, and you kind of get that effect on if you watch the movie Elf, or A Christmas Story, where they have the big window displays. Well, some stores had it inside. For me, it was May Company, which had one of the largest stores that had their flagship store in LA, and it was called the what was it called? It was called the White Building. And it was huge. It was 5 stories. It was 5 stories tall. The very first in the West Coast that have an escalator, because normally you have to walk up the stairs. The elevators, forget it. Okay, but I remember going there with my mom, and it was on Wilshire. I want to say Wilshire and Broadway. It wasn't in that area. I could be wrong, but it was in that area. I think now it's where I think it's the Academy Film Museum. But yeah, but I mean, they opened up, I think, in 1923, and they closed in 89. But I mean, and eventually what happened is they ended up getting bought out, and now you know them as Macy's. But oh, just unbelievable. This building was so big, okay, before Macy's brought them out, and and it was funny. The previous owners were hamburgers. That's what their name was. That was their last name. Okay, and Macy's bought it for $8.5 million, in which case is about 120 million in today's kind of money. All righty, but I mean, they boasted a whole mess of stuff in that store. Oh man, they had like a bakery, a fruit store. Don't forget 5 stories, chiropractors. They had physicians' offices. They even had an auditorium for 1,000 seats. That's how big it was. A telegraph office. There was dentists. There was a barber shop. I mean, everything was in there. It was unbelievable. It was said to have had a a steam-powered plant, an electrical plant in the basement that was powerful enough to power a city of 50,000 inhabitants. Unreal. It even had 120 men volunteer fire department, and employed over 1,200 employees. I mean, that was big. That was very, very big. But yeah, if you remember, you would go there and you would see all of this thing. And any of us baby boomers, oh, we remember that like nothing. I mean, it was just when you're that young and you're looking at this stuff, you're just like, wow. All right. and so many things what they did. The other thing they used to do, banks, of course, they would start Christmas club bank accounts. Now, back then, you'd have to have so much money to put into account to open up an account. You just couldn't say, hey, I want to open up an account. Here's a couple of dollars. No. But for Christmas, they would start it in January. You could put any amount in and save up for the Christmas account. That was big time. And I remember, if you can recall, the church choir radio broadcast. Okay, they would always. My mom was a big Catholic, and we would listen to that like nobody, like nobody's business. I'll tell you what. And then, what was the other one? Was what? Oh, holiday recipe swaps. You'd write everything down, and this basically, and this was kind of gender specific. The women would be in the kitchen and they would be writing down the recipes from each other, because they would all come together and they would say, oh, okay, let me see this. What is this? What is that? And then they would write it all down and they would take it. And it was a kind of a way of keeping the family recipes together. Cookies exchange were big too. Now, I remember we used to do this. We had a good friend who made the best Christmas cookies ever. We would look forward to getting those. Oh, they were delicious, And then, of course, I remember, and you might remember this as well, is the holiday recording of vinyls, like, the albums. I'm trying to remember. My mom, it was Perry Como and Nat King Cole. And I want to say there was one other, Perry Como, Andy Williams. And they had their Christmas songs, and they would put them on the record player, and we would listen to them while we were decorating the tree and stuff like that. And get this, you didn't go to the store to buy a stocking. You made your own stockings. All righty. I mean, everybody knew how to make stuff. We're using a sewing machine. And that's what we kind of did. I mean, my mom would make the stockings and stuff like that. Now, this one right in through here, if you remember, was a community tree lightings. Now, my town is a small little town of, I think, about 25,000. Okay. They still do this. This is a big deal. Okay. We have a tree, and it goes all the way down First Street to the end, and then it turns around, and there's a big tree right there. Well, they decorate it every year and have a big tree lighting. Now, there wasn't that many people this year because it was freezing. Okay, I mean, it was cold. It's been cold, like, crazy cold. We haven't had a cold spell like this in a long time, but it was really, really cold. All righty, and but we would get together and they would have a big tree lighting, and I mean, normally that place is packed. I mean, you have to park, a mile away, even further sometimes to get to where the tree is. But it's just beautiful. They do a great job every year. And I think you still can find that in some of the small towns, certainly not the large towns, but you've got like the Rockefeller Center and things like that. But this one right in through here was every small town always had a tree lighting. And the other thing too, and drive-ins would just show holiday theme films, and that was a big deal. In other words, we would get in my dad's car, which was huge, and with the blankets and everything, because it's cold. Okay, in LA for us, 60 degrees is cold, and we'd go to the theater just to see the theme holiday pictures. That was it. And what the other thing too that they used to do was handwritten family letters. All right, not just the pictures that like picture cards, but actually handwritten out. I mean, that was really big. That was super nice, and it kind of gave it a more of a personal touch, and it was just wonderful. And then how about those holiday TV specials? And some of them were pretty bad. All righty. I remember this one called, I think, Santa Claus Saves the Martians with P. Isadora. All righty. I mean, she was a small little girl at that time before she became famous. And I'm telling you, they had like the air blasters was the Martians' ray guns. All right. This was a low budget film. Okay. I mean, they put out a ton of this stuff. And if you remember, they'd always have the snowman that looked like Burl Ives. And I think they kind of played on that on Elf. And so they would always have those kind of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I mean, they would have a ton of holiday specials on TV. And not only that, But in the 50s, before they went in the 60s, before they went into the like the cartoonish type of things, they would have holiday specials like by Bing Crosby, Andy Williams, Bill, Perry Como. All of these people would gather, and we'd all gather around the television because first of all, there was only like three major stations and not much to watch. And we would watch this stuff because the parents wanted to watch it. We didn't have a choice on that. And the other thing that was big, and I used to do this as well, is you would put toy trains that would go around the Christmas tree at the bottom. That was big. That was big. I mean, that the kids would love it. You'd run it, and they would just go around and around, and they would love it. Of course, you'd have to be very careful with them because you know what, the kids wanted to pick them up and throw them around a little bit, but these were Lionels. These were not the inexpensive little trains. I mean, these were quality stuff. I mean, that was good. And how about if you remember the school pageants? All right, I remember them because I, shall we say, have a mental block on this. Okay, because I don't remember much about school, but I remember the pageants because they were like competition. I mean, some of these teachers took this serious. And what would happen is they would line you up and they'd give you a song and you got to sing a song. Well, I remember one year this teacher wanted to win it so bad that she went through and when you were singing, she went through and listened to your voice, everyone. Okay. And the ones that didn't cut the mustard, they just pantomimed. They didn't sing. Guess who was one of those? I was. Okay. There's not a good voice here. So, yeah. And so the Christmas pageant, I'm just mouthing stuff because I was told not to sing. So, but that's why I'll always remember those Christmas pageants, just that part. Oh, and my mom being a big Catholic, of course, there was midnight mass. We'd all get dressed up in our formal gear, go down to the church and have a midnight mass, which was great for us kids because most of the time we fell asleep. We just fell asleep. And I mean, it's midnight, man. We've been running around all day getting all excited about Christmas. Now, the other thing, I didn't do it. Okay, our family didn't do it, but I know families that did, and there would be fruit cake exchanges. I don't know why, but there would be. Fruit cake exchanges. That had to be a white man thing. We would never think of having a fruit cake. Okay, now. How about and I remember seeing this only in the movies because we never did it in our neighborhood. Okay, because we didn't live in the best part of town, but you would have neighborhood caroling parties where people would go around door to door and they would sing Christmas carols. Now that didn't happen in East LA. Okay, but it was always a nice gesture. And then, of course, you'd go over to some of your relatives and they would have a slideshow of last Christmas. Oh. And then how about the community tree decorating contest? Okay, now, my sister-in-law in her community have the not just the decorating, but the yard decorations. And I think she's won, one or two times. I mean, like I told you before, the house is huge and they got inflatables everywhere and they do a very, very good job. Very good. But that was a big thing where the community would have you decorate your tree and they would judge it, or in some cases, your yard decorations, and they would judge it. Oh, and how about this one? How about decorating your tree with popcorn? Okay, remember you used to get the popcorn and you'd have a almost like the thickness of a dental floss or a fishing line, and you would put popcorn through it. You have a needle and you put popcorn through it. Well, that was all well and good until the ants found out. Okay, then you'd end up with ants. Oh man, that was bad. And then of course, how about And I don't remember how long ago this was. I remember, but I don't know how long ago it stopped. But if you remember getting your tree flocked, okay, everybody's going, what? And so we would, I worked retail in the early 70s, and we were still flocking trees. And so we'd always say, someone would come in, they buy a tree, they say, I want to get it flocked. And so we say, okay, call a flocker. And then so that was kind of like almost, it looked like styrofoam type of thing, but it was like liquid and it would stick to the tree. Now, most people did that because it didn't allow the tree to dry out as fast. And it would be white and it would look lower. But what a mess. The stuff would start falling. It was like icicles. You remember icicles when you used to put them on the tree? All right. You'd be vacuuming that stuff up in March. All right. That was the same thing, a tree flocker. We wanted to have it and kind of give it that a festive, we're out in the woods in the snow, and but no, my goodness, what a mess. And but it was a good, shall we say, a good add-on sale for us retailers. All right. And I remember this one. And this one was gift wrapping with either brown paper with string or the New York Times comic strips. That was big at one time. And so that was and the brown paper was kind of like a throwback to the 1800s, and then we kind of got like nostalgia, and people started doing that for a little while. And then the big thing was, if you were to wrap the your presents in the New York Times comic strip or the LA Times comic strip. I mean, that was big for a little while. But yeah, so we always, now it's just bags. You don't have to wrap it, you just bag it, and that's it. and how about the tinsel trees? Christmas trees. Do you remember those? They were aluminum trees. Okay. And the thing about them, we had one. I'm going to be honest with you. We had one. They were from the Aluminum Specialty Company. And they were like, this aluminum, and they were that little puffs at the end, and it would be a stick, and you would have to put every branch in. It isn't like these trees now where they come together and you just, put them in sections. You had to put every single branch in, and it would be color coded. So everything you hear was blue. So you have to look for the blue on the aluminum and put it in. And then how you did put lights on them. They had a carousel with different color lights, and it would rotate and it would change the color of the tree. That was big. All right. My parents had one. They loved it. Okay. I don't know why. I just do not know why. Okay. Now, this is going to be the last one. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you baby boomers remember shopping for Christmas gifts at the mall. Oh, what a hassle that was. Oh my goodness. I mean, this was the ideal. It got the rise in the 1960s till about the end of the 1980s, early 90s, and then it just died off. All right. You go to some of these malls and they're practically empty. All right. But I remember they would be packed. Okay. And get this, the first mall didn't happen till about 1956 in Minnesota. And the reason why it was made was because of the harsh weather. So this way people would be inside and they would spend more time, and spending more time meant spending more money. And so that was the whole idea of an indoor or climate control mall. But the funny thing about the mall is I got a story. And this will be it. I got a story. And this is a story about my wife. We were first married. We're going Christmas shopping. Okay. Getting ready. And I mean, at the mall, you couldn't find a parking space for anything. It's almost like that old preacher's story about where the guy trying to find a parking space. Right. And he prays the Lord and he says, Lord, if you give me a parking space in front of this store. I will always honor you forever. And then somebody pulls out and he says, never mind. One just opened up. So, but this is what happened is we're going there and there's a parking space, just one parking space. And so we're looking to get to it. And then here comes another car, right? And I wait. I said, okay, go ahead, take it, and my wife, she goes, what are you doing? This is Christmas. It's no time to be nice. And I looked at her and says, do you hear yourself? And then because I knew the minute those words left her mouth, she knew what she was saying, and you can't take them back. But that was funny. We laughed about that for who knows how long. And with online buying, oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, I look at it. Hey, this is what I want. Boom, it's here. And then not only that, but other stores have gotten involved into that. But Christmas mall shopping, Black Fridays where they were throwing out VHS tape players, and it was just awful. I worked plenty of those, but I'll tell you what. But still, going back and remembering some of the wonderful memories that we had with our parents and with our good friends will never be forgotten as long as I live on this earth. And with that, we'd like to thank you for listening, and God bless. We'd like to thank you for listening and remind you if you happen to have any baby boomer topics you'd like us to cover, just email us at growingupboomer@gmail.com. And until next time, may God bless.